In today's episode, I'll be giving my review and reaction to the 2007 film Fracture. Fracture is a legal crime psychological thriller. The runtime is an hour and 54 minutes. The director is Gregory Hoblit, who directed Primal Fear, which I have seen before. Primal Fear, pretty good movie, so I would recommend that one. So, decent expectations coming into this one. The movie stars Anthony Hopkins, Ryan Gosling, David Stratham, Rosamund Pike, Embeth Davids, Billy Burke, Cliff Curtis, Fiona Shaw, and Bob Gunton. So let's dive right into Fracture. Do something, man. People are questioning you. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, yep, do that. Sure, guys. Stupid and dumb. Just an idiot. Get your shit together, son. Fuck it. I loved it. Welcome to the Dub Cast. Overall, I think Fracture was a somewhat decent watch. I think Anthony Hopkins kind of carried this movie, in my opinion. He was pretty good throughout the movie. I think his character was really the thing that kind of brought this above what an average movie would be for me. This is slightly above average, in my opinion. I thought Ryan Gosling as the main character was kind of meh. He had me at some parts, but I just couldn't really get behind his character throughout the movie. I don't know if that was, I thought it was like a decent job acting. I felt like his character wasn't really like compelling, relatable. I don't know, like he kind of has that. I don't know how to describe it, that feel to him, but I just didn't really get behind him as the main character in this one. I thought the concept of the movie though was interesting, with the perfectly thought out murder by Anthony Hopkins' character, but on the other side of the coin, you have Willie walking into what he believes to be an easy case, or at least what he thought was going to be an easy case, and it becomes way more complex for him. I think there is something to be said for that type of movie that has like this simple concept, and then you kind of peel back the layers, and there's more and more that really you don't understand what's going on. But yeah, I mean, this movie kind of reminded me of Devil's Advocate and Primal Fear, so I could see the correlation there between Primal Fear and this movie. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, him having directed both of these movies, Gregory Hoblit, makes a lot of sense, because they kind of work an opposite, Primal Fear and this movie, because in the Primal Fear he's defending a guy who's saying he's innocent but is actually guilty, and in this one he's going against a guy who's saying he's I'm confusing myself, who's saying he's innocent but is actually, so it is the same thing. Okay, my bad. Anyways, moving on. The love connection I thought between Gosling and his sort of superior at the new law office, I thought was pretty sudden and moved fast, and in my opinion there was a weak development there. I get that it's a movie, shorter runtime, less than 2 hours, but all of a sudden she's bringing him home for Thanksgiving when she's supposed to be a superior. I don't know, I thought that was kind of weird, and also ethically I don't know if that's even allowed. I don't really know how the ethics work of a law office, but I thought that was a little bit over the top. The music I thought was pretty cheesy throughout the movie, which did slightly detract from it for me. I think that the movie would actually have been more interesting if Willie ended up losing the case and having the wife die, but the happy ending, him making it through the end, starting another case, and using the wife's death to open that new case, it's fine. I thought maybe it would be, the message would hit a little bit harder if he lost the case and that was it. But when there's runtime left, and you can see that there's going to be another plot point anyway. So I thought the middle of the movie felt somewhat boring, with no additional evidence or findings, just Willie kind of sinking himself slowly. In my opinion, that was a pretty, not exciting stretch of film right there. The only really development of the middle of the movie was him slowly losing his new job and meeting the girl, which I didn't find that compelling. As I mentioned before, I thought the love arc was weak. So I think this movie had the right idea and had the makings for it to be a good movie, and it somewhat worked out, but some of the other stuff was poorly executed. So overall, I'm letting this movie at a 6.5. Not my favorite film by any means. Probably will never rewatch it. I haven't really been introduced to the Ryan Gosling lore, so I don't know what his best movies are. I know Blade Runner is a good one, if that's even him and not Ryan Reynolds. Anyways, I don't know. I wasn't really impressed by Ryan Gosling in this performance. Anthony Hopkins, though, did a good job. I mean, if you want to see a good Anthony Hopkins performance, that'd be about the only reason I would say to recommend this movie. And if you like the weird marble stuff that goes on. So let's compare this amongst the other movies we reviewed so far. So this is our 47th movie review, and this comes in at number 42. So yeah, not the best review for Fracture. Thought, I think I'm pretty happy with where I'm landing at. I think all the movies above it are better. I just really couldn't find anything to really poke at besides Anthony Hopkins' performance that makes this like a 7 or an 8 or something like that. Like this, in my opinion, is just like a fine film. Um, Pretty average, nothing crazy. So lands at number 42. And like I mentioned before, I thought Devil's Advocate was a pretty similar film, but that gets an 8.3 in comparison to the 6.5. I think every aspect of Devil's Advocate is just done way better than this movie. I mean, the villain was way better. The main character was way more rootable. They basically had the same storyline of this whole movie in one like fourth of the other movie, and the 1/4 of Devil's Advocate. Like they fit in a lot more story. It felt more cohesive. I don't know. I think that was just a worlds above movie, but I do think that those two movies were pretty similar. So that's all I have for this one. Haven't reviewed any Gosling or Anthony Hopkins movies yet, so we're gonna leave the comparing the actors because we have nothing to compare it to. So now we'll dive into my thoughts and reactions throughout the film. So as always, I like to start with the introduction. So we get the introduction. It's Anthony Hopkins' character inspecting a marble track, while also there's some scenes of two other random people who we don't know banging. So with the marble stuff, like I really just what was that supposed to be? Like I looked it up on Reddit after and was like, what's the significance of the marbles? It's just like there to be cool, because it's not like a main focus of the film, but it's like they keep showing you at the marbles. It's marbles, marbles. I don't know why I said marbles. I don't know. I thought that was kind of distracting. I mean, it's cool, but it's like it's a marble going down a track, and it's not like he has some like he has like a thing that he has the survivor. When you catch the ball at the end, some motion. He has that machine. It's like, okay, it's cool. It could switch ways and go around a track, but for me, like, I'm not interested in that at all. So that kind of detracted from the movies for me as well. It just felt like we were including that just to have like him have a hobby. Like, I don't really understand the whole significance of that, and they opened the movie with it, so I really just didn't understand that part of it. I thought the looking back on it, like the scenes of the two people banging, like I thought that was an interesting concept where like they meet once a week. It's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith or something, and then they don't know who each other are. They're just, I think that's like an interesting little subplot of the movie, but obviously it's extinguished very early on. So we move along, and so we meet Ted. He's poking around a hotel room and essentially catches his wife cheating. And so he knows everything, heads back before she does at the house, and he says to her, I love you. And then she says, I know, doesn't say it back. So that's root cause number one. I don't even think, you have to mention the cheating stuff. Right there that the passion's been lost, the love's been lost. Granted, it seems like there's like a 50-year age difference between these two people, so maybe it was like she's in it for the money or something. They don't really go into that, but yeah, right away you know that this relationship's not going to end well. So he confronts her about it, says, I saw you cheating at the hotel, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, etc., and then just shoots her. And I'm like, because a lot of the movies I watch, I'll read the description before, and whatever. But I was like, this is what we're starting with. He just shoots her. Like that's crazy. And so you think like this should be an open and shut case. Obviously, that's like kind of the whole premise of the movie. But I don't know. I felt bad for the girl. Like at least give her a chance to defend herself. And you're just gonna shoot her. I mean, I think Anthony Hopkins' character is a little bit of an ego guy. We'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah, this was a crazy way to just start the movie. So he admits to the investigator when the police come, because not to mention this is a $1 million home. There's like gardeners and stuff outside. So he admits to the first person that comes in that he shot his wife in the head, and he tells him to put his fingers up her skirt before Lieutenant Nunnally breaks it up. So the investigator comes in. That is actually Mr. Smith from the beginning. Now, I didn't catch this at the beginning of the movie. I was not paying attention to who it was, because the first scene they're sitting poolside. Next scene is in a cop uniform coming into the house. So obviously that explains his passion, the police officer's passionate response to the shooting, because he's the first responder, and then he's like going in there tackling Hopkins' character, and he's like all upset that the woman's dead. he was having an affair with her. So that's the reason why. And I think Anthony Hopkins' character knew this, um, and since he knew that that was the case, he knew that he'd be the first responder. So this is all sort of a big kind of scheme plot from Crawford. And so yeah, the fight's broken up, and then we're introduced to Ryan Gosling's character, Beecham. So he's what I call a hotshot lawyer. Recently got a new job in a new law office. It seems like in all these law movies, like this movie, Devil's Advocate, The Firm, there's just like a syndicate like law office that you can just advance to once you go like 98-2 in your cases or something. So that's what happens to Beecham. And he gets assigned the Crawford case as one of his last. I mean, he got to give. I guess there still is a 2-week notice in law offices, so he gives his 2 weeks, but he still's on the job as a public defender. He gets assigned to the Crawford. He's not a public defender. He works with the prosecution. My bad. So he gets assigned to the Crawford case. Crawford denies a lawyer and wants to represent himself. So now it'll be Beecham versus Crawford basically for the rest of the movie. This is where the rivalry starts, and Crawford wants this to go to trial early because he's older and probably just wants to be on the outside, or thinks he'll be on the outside. So we're heading to trial right away. Movie magic. That's what the whole movie's going to result around. Anyways, so Beecham, he's headed to his new firm, and he meets his new boss, and right away he starts flirting with her. At first I thought this was funny. I didn't realize they're going to become like essentially married by the end of the movie after just, working together, but I guess that happens to people. So this case isn't going to be as clear as once thought because the gun is gone. They can't find the gun. That's like one of the main sticking points of why they can't arrest Crawford throughout the film is that they can't find the gun. And yeah, so they, as Beecham's becoming more and more into the new office and like meeting people and going around and doing activities with them, they go to the opera, and during the opera he's just staring at her the whole time. I mean, this is really the only character we meet from the new law office. I think we meet the boss too, but I mean, I don't know, I felt like they were just putting this in there just to have like another character in the movie and just have like a love interest for no reason. I feel like we didn't really need the love interest, but as always I'm kind of looking at it through that lens. But I felt like it was, he's just staring at her in the opera, and she's like, oh nice, like this is 2007, this isn't fucking 1920, bro. Anyways, so Crawford grills him. It's a one-on-one. You get to meet with the person if you want to, and Crawford wants all the smoke really, because he's like, whenever there's a chance for them to meet together and get together, Crawford really is like the one behind all this rivalry stuff, because he just wants to completely own Beecham, and I think he has something against. I don't know if he has something against him, but he wants to be like take down this hotshot lawyer, win the case against him. So now it's one-on-one. Crawford's done his homework and knows everything about Beecham, knows about the new job, knows all of his cases, and he says Willie's weakness is that he's a winner. So maybe it wasn't a head-to-head rivalry thing. Maybe it's just like, I just want to beat everyone or I'm going to beat whoever's in my way, and it just happens that Beecham's in his way. So the weakness is that he's a winner. I can get behind that. If people are used to winning everything, it's like if you start to lose, you start to get flustered, things happen, I could definitely understand that point of view from Crawford about Beecham. I think that that's a reasonable point. Now, I don't feel like that's the reason why he loses this case, though. I mean, Crawford essentially just made it like an impossible mystery to solve, because the gun's gone. I mean, it's just like a perfect crime because he did his homework before. He probably did his homework on how to murder somebody and get away with it. I don't think this was just like an open and shut case and like a good lawyer could solve this. Like Beecham went like 97-0 or whatever, or I think he lost 1 or 2. Anyways, so the court proceedings begin. This is when the head-to-head court battles start, and while Crawford is in the courtroom, he's just drawing stuff while the witnesses are presenting, just doesn't really give a shit about what's going on. He knows that essentially they have no evidence against him, all due to his master plan. Once again, I think he's drawing like the marble racks and the marble mazes. Okay, once again, irrelevant to the movie in my opinion. So he has the big switcheroo moment where he says that it was actually the police officer was the one at the beginning who was having an affair with her, and Crawford is grilled with an objection, and both confections. So Crawford grills with an objection because he says that the police officer and his wife are sleeping together, so he's not allowed to testify. And obviously, him being the first one to respond to the case and go inside, all of his things have to be thrown out. So the confession is thrown out that Crawford gave to the police officer, and his testimony is thrown out. And so yeah, now there's no more confession. That was like the main sticking point. Like, we have a confession, it should be easy. Now there's no confession, no gun. Things start to get really complicated. So of course, as he begins to lose this case and slowly unravel, Beecham's stock takes a hit. He's removed from the case from his old office, the prosecutor's office, and after this happens, he's had a tough week, so he heads to his new superior's place, the woman, and of course they're gonna sleep together. I'm not gonna harp on this a million times, so we'll just move on because they're basically an item now. So for the first time in the movie, he decides he really wants to be passionate about this case. He fights. He wants to be back on the case, and he gets it back. The evidence is just not there, though. I mean, really, he has to pull some like third level shit to end this movie, but still nothing. I mean, you took the case back. There's still nothing to find. Like, this poor guy who plays somebody in Fear the Walking Dead. I don't know the actor's name. He's like his assistant who's been looking for the gun. He's like, dude, find the gun. Beecham says to him every time. He's like, find the gun. He's like, I tried. And then he's like, try harder. Find the gun. Stupid. So as he's pursuing, things happen. This is kind of the boring part of the movie that I mentioned, but we get to the family dinner with his new girlfriend for, I think, Thanksgiving, or just a dinner. I think it was Thanksgiving. But he gets grilled instantly about everything and how the case comes up. I mean, yeah, if you're at the dinner table with a bunch of random people, and especially, it seems like in all these movies that when you have dinner together, people just want to like grill people. Like, that's not really how I've experienced it. Like, it's kind of like a nice back and forth, but it's like, oh, here's my daughter slash sister slash friend is bringing a new man to the house. Maybe like, let's be nice to him. First time ever meeting him. Nope, let's just grill him. I mean, I guess, granted, you could be on like the headline papers, whatever, and just be getting destroyed on the media, which I guess then is a fair point. But it's like, he's trying to get the guy for murder. He's not doing the wrong thing. He's on the prosecution side. So I don't know. I thought that was a little bit, I guess it depends, family on family. So the cop, Nunnally, who was involved in all this, the investigator who was there with the confession and now has to, be removed from the case, he wants to see Crawford behind bars because he was in love with his wife and had an affair with his wife. So he tries to go crooked mode and switch the gun to get their evidence, but Willie says no. Good to see Beecham still has his morals, especially in Devil's Advocate and The Firm. Like, as you get these better jobs, you kind of lose your ethics and essentially just start working. I don't know what the word for it is, so I'll move on. But good to see he still has ethics. So he now has a new ploy he's going to use in the courtroom. He's going to have his secretary sit outside Beecham with his cell phone and said that they found the murder weapon, but he doesn't end up going through with it because, like, there was a chance that they would have to use Nunnally's fake evidence plant as well. They didn't really have the new gun, or didn't have the gun. They were just trying to spook Crawford, but Beecham decides not to go through with it, and then Crawford is acquitted of murder. So there's result number one is a loss. Keeping it moving, after the Crawford is acquitted, there's more proceedings at the courthouse. I mean, not proceedings, everyone's just kind of walking out. They hear a gunshot, which is crazy. You're like, whoa, what just happened here? Because I was like, did he just do it again? Did Crawford just shoot somebody again? But no, it is Nunnally. He killed himself at the courthouse, which is a sad scene because I don't know, you don't ever know what's going on with the character. I thought that maybe we could have had a scene with Nunnally, but I didn't feel like he would be the type to do that, so it is kind of a shocking scene. Obviously just got exposed for having an affair, maybe. I don't know if he had a wife, but making Crawford's wife cheat with him, not making, but like they had an affair, so maybe that was it. And then the courtroom stuff, I guess he just, thought his reputation was in the gutter. I don't personally feel that way, but, his character did that, so it also helps later on with the plot point for Beecham to have something against Crawford. But yeah, So R.I.P. to Nunnally. I mean, kind of a nothing character, just kind of there to move the plot along, in my opinion. Not really any personality. Anyways, Crawford now acquitted gloats to Willie about how he now has control to either pull the plug on his wife's life or not. His wife isn't dead yet. She is in a coma. She's been in a coma this entire time, which is weeks of proceeding. I mean, comas, dude. If I don't know what you think in a coma. Like I read a book about a girl who woke up from a coma like 11 years later. Like that scares the shit out of me. I don't know. I feel like coma would be a very bad place to be. So Willie's now spooked by this information. Obviously, he lost the case, and that's okay. That's whatever. It's a lost case. Like, that's bad enough. But now this poor woman's going to die because he wasn't able to convict Crawford. So Willie goes back to Wooten Sims to attempt to rally his new boss's support. She passes on the situation, which is totally reasonable. I mean, she shouldn't even be dealing with this case at all. She isn't going to, but she's like a firm above. So this is down to the prosecution level. So really, Willie's on his own here. I mean, it's bad. He's down bad. He even tries to go to his new superior, that girl. He tries to go to her dad, who he met at the dinner, who's the judge of the case, and he gets the papers to stop. I keep forgetting his name. Crawford. To stop Crawford from pulling the plug, but he's not allowed into the hospital because Crawford already was a step above him, or a step ahead of him, and got a restraining order on him, on Beecham. So the wife unfortunately flatlines and dies after the plug is pulled by Crawford. And so, if it ended right here, I'd be like, wow, that's a hard-hitting story. You got to always win the cases and take everything serious, or else, it results in these results for people. I mean, people like Crawford just get to walk free, and that's it. And yeah, Willie's, I mean, that would be a good story, but, we need more. We need a good ending. So Willie is down bad. He quits the lawyer gig and begins to pack up shop, even after an attempt from his boss to get him to stay on with the prosecution office, which is a very nice offer because it seems like that case kind of tanked their stock a little bit. Anyways, he's out, but Crawford invites Willie over for one more gift before he goes, and the scheme is revealed by Willie Beecham after doing some little extra homework and research and saying, you know what, I'm going to figure this out. He now knows that Crawford used Nunnally's gun instead of his own and swapped them out. So that's why the gun was missing, because he took Nunnally's gun from the hotel. So that makes a lot of sense on that. And Willie gets him in the end because now that he pulled the plug, the case can be reopened as a homicide. And yeah, that was the golden thing right there, was the gun switcheroo, and he knew that because of the courtroom. When Nunnally killed himself, he saw Nunnally's gun. That was the one they were looking for the whole time. So Crawford stole the gun at the hotel, returned it, and then, well, I don't know how he got it back to Nunnally, but doesn't matter. The new trial begins, and Crawford doesn't seem too upset. It looks like he got the best out of Beecham. I think that's what he wanted, just high-level competition in the courtroom. He got it for most of the time, and he won. And now that he's losing, I think he's the type of character who'd be like happy to lose, or just go like head-to-head against somebody. So it looks like our boy Beecham got the case done, and that's it for Fracture, man. I mean, pretty, they try to do the little twist ending at the end, but when there's time left in the movie after the wife dies, it's like obviously he's just gonna win this case, right? So yeah, thought that was just kind of a middle of the road movie, plot point A to plot point B. No, there was some good stuff in there. Crawford or Anthony Hopkins' performance was good. I liked the whole concept of the gun switcheroo. I think that was a good idea, but I just think the middle of the movie just kind of boring. So that's where I'm at on it. 6.5 for Fracture. What did you guys think of Fracture? Make sure to leave your comment or like or subscribe. Do whatever you got to do. Movie reviews coming up. We got Thank You for Smoking. That'll be the next movie review. Besides that, more pods on the way. We got The Bear season 3 just came out. My review of it came out. It came out June 2024, but no need to mention that. Watching more shows now, so maybe I'll do a Mandalorian podcast. Gotta catch season 3. Severance. I know I gotta watch Severance, so will we do a Severance pod? Maybe. White Lotus weekly. I'm filming these so far in advance. I don't know. It's out on my own channel. UFC, all sports, March Madness. We got a live stream coming for that. So basically the short story is content will be flowing no matter when this video comes out. So as always, be easy.